Hey solos, so you're going to Epic Universe all by yourself and you want to know what it's like, what it might be like for a solo, things that you should eat, all of that stuff. Well, guess what? I have not one, but I have four bonus episodes for you that are all about Epic Universe for solos, and I can't wait for you to hear them. Hi everyone, it's Samantha. Olaf may not know who Samantha is, but now you do. Is that as relevant if this is the Epic Universe Solo Magic podcast? Well, I guess these are just the bonus episodes, but regularly, this is the Disney Solo Magic podcast, which is the number one podcast for solo travel to Disney World, and it's now in its second year. I just got this harebrained idea last weekend in the shower that it would just be so awesome to be able to share what it's like to go to Epic Universe for solos. And I already know a few people who had went and they were like, yeah, there's definitely some like tidbits for solos. So I put a call out on Threads and I got such a great response. And I have for you four different solo stories about going to Epic Universe. This one is with Mike, also known as Uncle Mike B, and he has gone to Epic Universe. He has gone solo and he's gone with his partner. He has stayed at the Helios Grand, the big fancy hotel. He's gone to all the lands. He's eaten all the food, and it was really great to talk with him because he had such great insight about what it might be like to be there solo, both for him but also for other people. So I know you're going to love this. We randomly found out that he is also a Canadian, although he is based in Florida. So there are a couple Canadian jokes there. So if you are also a millennial who knows those jokes, please make sure you extra like and comment and all that stuff, because I wanted to make sure that my jokes did not, go to like no ears. You know what I mean? So you can follow me as well as Mike on all of our social media. The links are in the description below. Mike certainly has all the content related to Epic Universe. I do not, but go on Mike's account and make sure you follow him, and go on my account too if you're interested in solo travel to Disney World. And you can come and welcome to this wonderful universe that we are building here as well. Look at that. It is epic. You can listen to this on Apple, on Spotify, and on YouTube. And please, again, make sure you rate, review, subscribe, and comment below. That would be really, really great, especially because I want to make sure that people who are listening to this are also Universal fans as well as Disney fans. And that algorithm really, really is bumped up the more you interact with the post. So thank you so much. I also have a Patreon. One of the cool things about the Patreon is that you get to watch videos of our solo stories. So if you're interested in watching my conversation with Mike, make sure you go on Patreon. There's a free trial and you can watch our conversation. Now, I try not to edit too much out of the audio stuff, but there's always some things that just don't really make any sense for the audio stuff, but are more fun to watch. So again, there is a slightly longer version of our conversation on Patreon. So go watch us there. Anything else? No, let's just get right on into it. Hi, Mike. I'm so excited for this conversation. Thank you for agreeing to talk with me about Epic Universe. But we've already have learned we have a lot in common. We're both also Canadian, which is great. And we've also kind of already scheduled another talk to talk about some other things. So I'm excited to have you on to talk about Universe. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi. I'm Mike Bryck. Online, my biggest platform is Instagram, and everywhere I am at It's Uncle Mike B, and the B is BEE. And like you mentioned, I've got 4 days at Epic Universe done.
That's amazing.
Two of them were completely solo. So I think that we can have an interesting conversation. There's definitely some stuff specifically around food. If you're going solo, you're going to want to plan your food really, really well, because not only is it tasty, some of it is huge.
Okay, that's so great. Let's talk Epic Universe. So, tell us about your experience, your first experience going. Was your first experience solo?
No. So my first experience was with my wife, Ashley.
Hi,
We went
Ashley.
down.
She's not in the screen, but a
She, yeah,
proverbial.
she's in the next room.
Yeah.
She probably hears my booming voice right now.
Okay.
But we went down and actually stayed overnight at the Helios Grand, the brand new
Oh,
super luxury resort. attached directly to Epic. And so we had our first experience basically was walking into the park, not through the Chronos that everyone sees online. We actually walked through the dedicated entrance from Helios, which is the other side of the park. And you walk down this kind of winding path past this giant sculpture that is in, you walk into what's called Celestial Park, which is the sort of hub land of the park. And you see this gorgeous fountain and these huge statues. And it, like, as far as, the first impressions, this place, I've now done both. I've walked in from Helios and I've walked in through the Chronos. Both of these are such amazing and unique ways to walk into a theme park, and it immediately transforms you into this, for lack of a better term, epic experience.
That's really cool because I mean, I haven't talked to anybody or seen any media. I mean, I haven't consumed a lot related to Epic Universe about those like double entrances. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. And did it feel like this is a comparison that Universal and Disney do not want to make. Does it feel like going from the Star Wars hotel through like the truck to get to Star Wars Land? You know what I'm talking about?
I do. We never had the opportunity to stay on the Galactic Star Cruiser to sail. I know a bunch of people who absolutely loved it. So as a Star Wars fan, you can see behind me my Star Wars, well, mostly Star Wars. Well, I was bummed I didn't get that experience, but I have talked to folks, and no, it was a very different. You
I guess what I
actually,
mean, sorry to interrupt. I guess what I mean is
yeah,
like, did it feel like a seamless narrative experience, right? Because the hotels were designed to like align with the park. Like, did it feel like some sort of like a consistent narrative experience?
yeah, absolutely, it did.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah,
meant. As
yeah.
I was saying, I was like, wait, now all of the preconceived notions about that little truck is coming in. I guess I just meant like, did it feel like a seamless narrative experience to go from the
Yeah,
hotel into the park? Yeah, okay, cool.
yeah, it was definitely. I mean, if you are going down and you have the budget for your ep to experience the best epic, I would say you can. I would stay at least a night at Helios Grand
Okay, cool.
because the dedicated entrance, dedicated security just makes the experience that much more special. I love it. I'm a theme park fan, so being in the little corral, waiting to go through security, and then being corralled for rope drop, I mean, it feeds my soul. But just strolling through a dedicated security lane, walking down this garden path into this brand new theme park had to be one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life.
I love that. I love that because again, I haven't heard that, so that's a really great thing for people to look forward to if they're staying there.
Yeah.
Is it the same with the other one? Because there's the two
Uh,
hotels.
so no, so there's actually three hotels
Ah,
in the Epic
okay.
resort area. So there's Helios, which is directly attached to Epic Universe,
Right.
and then there is Stella Luna and Terra Nova.
Ah, right. Okay.
And they're just you pass them on the way in. If you're a local, you pass them sort of going through it's a very, very interesting but intentionally designed traffic area around Epic.
Mm,
So you pass those. They're maybe a 5-minute bus ride away. And there is a bus. Disney folks would be used to this idea. There's just sort of a little bus station attached to the theme park, and you would come directly there. You don't need to go through City Walk like the other resorts at Universal. You would go to City Walk, and then you would go to Epic. You can just go directly to Epic. So
awesome.
it's a little better, but it's also, I think, on average about $300 a night less to stay at Terra Luna and Stella Nova as
Right.
opposed to Helios, which is
Well, I
They're
think
one of their
it's
top tier hotels.
right. And I think that's good to like know because I mean the dates are all kind of blacked out right now. It's definitely going to be busy
Yeah,
for a while. But if somebody is planning a trip, right?
yeah,
I love that we just started the conversation by being like Helios Grand is a really great way to enclose that experience and
yeah.
it's something to save up for and like book in advance and all that stuff. I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's always, I mean, even though I'm now local, I try to channel myself as a tourist, as I know that's how most people experience Orlando is coming down to see the parks, to see the attractions.
And
So I
hotels
always,
are great.
oh, hotels are amazing. I love
I
hotels.
love hotels.
I mean, we stayed a night at Helios. We have a night coming up at Terra Luna, and they're 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I don't care that they're 15 minutes away. I want to go on a trip to a theme park.
I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. So, okay. I mean, I want you to tell me a little bit about like your experience being there as a whole, like the different lands and all that stuff, but then also kind of focus in on your experience doing those things solo. So, is that that's not even a question. Can you just like take that prompt and go with it?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So I am, as you might have noticed, a big fan of Universal Monsters, of
Yeah.
HHN. So the first land that I really gravitated towards, where there's definitely a great hack for solo travelers, is Dark Universe.
Mm,
So Dark Universe is the world of Universal's classic monsters. So you go into the fictional town of Darkmoor and you walk through the portal, which the portal reads "It's alive" over it, and you go through this very cool purple sort of lightning thing in the portal, and you walk out. There's fog, which for any of the HHN folks, fog is addictive. Fog is the coolest thing on earth. You
HHN is Halloween Horror Nights. For those people
yes.
who might not know, it's the evening. It's like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, except it's not Mickey and it is very scary.
Absolutely, it's a more adult experience. Although kids are more than welcome. There's definitely certain special 8 to 10 year old kids who have been raised on this, and I think that's awesome. But
I'm
yes,
not
sorry.
even a special 40-something-year-old woman, so I have not been and I'm too scared to go. But anyway,
Well,
so
if you ever
okay,
want to
but
go, come on
Darkmoor.
down.
Yeah, okay,
But
okay.
you go into Darkmoor, and the main there's two attractions in Darkmoor. There is Curse of the Werewolf, which is a spinning roller coaster, which to be honest, I was kind of underwhelmed by. But then there is the best dark ride in the world right now. It is called Monsters Unchained, and it has the same ride system that you would see on Forbidden Journey over at Islands of Adventure, in that it's actually a robotic arm that was originally used for car factories. So you are in a four-person car on the end of this robotic arm so that they can actually turn and tilt and pan you exactly to what part of the attraction they want you to look at. And I won't go too much into the actual, story of the ride, but you've got Dracula, you've got Frankenstein's monster, you've got
Okay, sorry, can I just say one thing?
yeah.
As a nerd and someone and a Virgo, I am so happy that people are like learning and saying correctly that Frankenstein is not the monster, but the doctor.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to like say that.
Actually, a good on that point. So I will tell you the solo hack in a second, but if you don't do the solo hack, you go through the complete line. And in the complete queue, one of the first things you see once you're inside the Manor Frankenstein, is this really cool effect where it flashes and it reads, "Who's the real monster?" And I thought that was so cool because, it's actually that concept is central to the story
Yeah.
of the ride because I don't think this is too much of a spoiler. You're going in to meet Dr. Frankenstein's granddaughter, Victoria Frankenstein, who has now taken over the manor and is carrying on her grandfather's work. So it's really interesting to think of the that concept of who is the real monster. You know, we've always thought of Frankenstein as the monster, uh, but Frankenstein didn't ask to be made.
Right.
He
Yeah.
he just woke up one day and was like, "What the heck happened? I don't know. I was dead. Now I'm alive. I'm confused."
I also again, as someone who's interested in history and and women's studies and feminism, I also am very happy that Dr. Frankenstein, like they have Dr. Frankenstein's granddaughter, because Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley, who was the daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft,
Yeah.
who was a very, very famous feminist in the 19th and 18th century. And I'm just really glad there's that like little nod to that history that just made me feel very happy and made me like really appreciate, as someone that's not really in the Universal Studio space, like really appreciate like this is the level of detail that they have brought to the storytelling. And I just find that really impressive from afar.
It's always been amazing to me. You know, I hate it, but you hear it all the time about how Disney went woke. And no, Disney didn't go woke at all. But that's a different story.
Mm.
Universal, at least now, NBC Universal has their issues themselves. But as a specific unit, Universal Parks and Entertainment are extremely progressive.
Mm.
They are, you know, the from, you know, folks that I know who are team members, and that's the for folks that don't know, at Universal, you are a team member, not a cast member. That's their internal slang. They're from team member events through, you know, inclusion in rides. One awesome thing that I noticed when I was at Universal at Epic Universe was one of the mannequins in one of the stores is actually in a wheelchair. And I was
Oh,
like, that's so cool.
yeah.
Like it's a tiny thing that a lot of people just won't notice, but Universal is really trying so hard to bring and build inclusion into the parks. Now, that being said, and it's not something I can speak on with a whole lot of authority because it's not something that I face. I do know friends who do have some mobility concerns who have said the park in general is not overly friendly for those who are on ECVs or
Mm.
wheelchairs, which is a shame. But I like the fact, and the first thing I noticed was that I was like, wow, I love that we're hearing from Victoria Frankenstein,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's so cool.
Well, that's good to know about people who have additional accessibility concerns. And like, I think that's just something for people to kind of take note of when they're watching other media or like looking for other content about it. Like, what are people that are using
Yeah,
different mobility devices saying, so that if you are needing that type of support when you're in the park, that you know that's already been a flag. So thank you. So you
yeah,
said a hack, which I think
yeah.
I might know the hack.
So you probably guessed it. It's a single rider line.
Right.
Now, and my experience with single rider lines is I do like to test them out. And from time to time, they are actually not a good idea. For example, my favorite roller coaster in the world is Velocicoaster. Stay away from the single rider line. Velocicoaster, you're likely to be there longer than the actual standby wait time.
Interesting.
But for Universal's for Monsters Unchained, their single rider line is amazing. I have gone in there at a 50-minute wait and waited 5 minutes. I looped the single rider line 4 times in an hour,
Oh my God.
and
That's
just
amazing.
was amazed by it. So that single rider line is perfectly set up if you're looking to maximize your time. The other great thing about Monsters is that it loads super fast. I haven't confirmed this number, but it comes from people that I trust. It puts through about 3,000 people an hour,
Wow.
which
Crazy.
anything over about 2,000 is awesome. 2,500 is like the all-star of rides. 3,000, it's just unbelievable. So that's another one of the reasons why that single rider line works so well.
So I
Yeah,
heard that Epic Universe has actually a lot of single rider lines, which
they
is
do.
great. Have you done the single rider lines and the regular lines to compare not even the time, but the like story and narrative? Because I hear that that might not necessarily always, you might not always
Yeah.
get to be able to see everything if you do the single rider lines.
So, great point. Specifically for Monsters Unchained, you do miss the entire pre-show,
Okay.
which is important to see at least once, or go and find a video where they sort of go over the pre-show. But I do have to say the pre-show is extremely impressive. There are a couple animatronics in there that are very, very cool. There's also a little model of the arm that Igor. So Igor is actually sort of your kind of tour guide. He's the one operating the what they call the Catacombs Exploration Unit, I think is the name. And so you go into the first pre-show and he's like, here we're gonna put all your little rab rats in your little rab rat ride and go like this, and then all of a sudden it like malfunctions and it starts flashing red. And he's like, no, don't, nothing will go wrong. Nothing will go wrong. The doctor's ready to see you. And you go in and see the doctor and her monster. And then you actually go and you put your stuff in lockers, which Universal is amazing at making sure that you have locker space so that you do not have loose items. So yeah, to go back to your question, um, for Universal Monsters Unchained, you do miss a lot of the required pre-show if you go through the single rider line. So I always say go through the full queue at least once. You get that backstory. There are definitely other rides where you don't have the same problem. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll transition out of Dark Universe and go over to my other favorite land, which is the Isle of Berk.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh, it is in for my money, Berk is the most well-rounded theme park land they built. It is basically other the only thing that I would say, it rains, everything's shutting down, other than the show. Because all of the attractions are outside. One of them is a water attraction, so that it all can come grinding to a halt. But it has three attractions, a show. It has two of the best quick service eatery options in the park. It is a very, very well themed land. For frankly, I watched the How to Train Your Dragons move. How to Train a Dragon. Yeah, I watched the movies, like all of
Did you
maybe
watch them in
five.
anticipation of going to the parks, or were you already
Yeah,
like a big Training Your Dragon fan?
that's the point I'm getting around to very, very slowly. Is no,
No,
I
no, it's
wasn't a
fine.
big, I wasn't a big How to Train Your Dragon fan.
Because I
Um,
I asked that because not because you were taking a longer route, which it was totally fine
yeah,
by the way, but it was because that's what I've heard from everybody.
yeah.
Everybody, people that I've interviewed, but also like people that that do other content, they were all like, "Okay, well, I guess I should watch the movie now."
Yeah, so I watched the movies before we went to the park, and liked them. And then I walked through the portal into Burke, and you walk out and you see these two massive Viking sculptures that breathe fire. And in the background is this, and it's forced perspective, so it's not huge, but it looks to you to be the, huge Isle of Burke with dragon tails wagging out of houses, and it is breathtaking. It is probably from a purely just walking in standpoint, one of the, I would say, maybe two most impressive entrances in the park. And the good thing about this is every ride that you can go on, so there's three. There's Hiccup's Wing Gliders, which is a family coaster. There's Dragon Racer Rally, which is a sort of um, flying. It's almost like a flying Dumbo ride, but you
Okay.
can actually spin yourself upside down if you work hard enough at it. And the third is called Fire Drill, which is the one ride I have not been on yet because it kept on shutting down every single time I got in line for it. But it is a water ride where you are spraying targets to get points, and if you don't spray the targets fast enough, you get soaked. So if you're hot, which is it happens, this is a great ride because you're going to get extremely, extremely wet one way or the other. But the great thing about these three rides, all of them have single rider lines, and you miss no backstory.
Ooh.
So you can just go straight through. The All Star, in my mind, Hiccups Wing Gliders is one of the best family coasters I've ever been on in my life. It is a
Is it
super
like the Ghoster
cute.
Coaster at Canada's Wonderland?
No.
Okay. That's a reference that I knew that Mike would get. Perhaps not the listeners. It's not that great of a ride, but that was my first roller coaster.
It is the story is really cute that Hiccup, who is sort of the protagonist of How to Train Your Dragon, has devised a way to add dragon wings to this vehicle that you're in so that you can tour Berk properly from the air as if you are riding a dragon.
Wow.
And as is standard in most theme park rides, something goes horribly wrong. Uh, and you end up on this wild ride through Berk. And it's very, very well themed. It's thrilling without being too much. Ashley is not a big coaster person, and she was like, "Yeah, no, this is fine. We can do this. This is good." It's actually one of her favorite rides in the park now.
Oh, fun. Fun. That's really great because if I was going to Epic Universe, I feel like I would just skip that land because I have no connection to the IP. And I love that you are speaking so highly of it because it seems like it is definitely worth going to check out. But also if you are a big fan of rides or like ride
Yeah,
experiences or the theming, it's like you don't need to know the
yeah.
IP to really be able to appreciate it.
You do not. I walked in. I got a tear in my eye. I
Oh,
walked because
I love it.
it's so absolutely encompassing with the theming. And you also have, in my opinion, the better of the two shows at Epic Universe in that land, the Untrainable Dragon, which uh, I guess I don't know how big you are about spoilers, but spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Uh, Toothless Hiccup's dragon actually flies over the audience. And
Ooh.
the way they achieve that is from a former theater tech nerd, so cool. But also just the show, the plot, the characters, the music. It is a 10 to 15 minute almost Broadway level production.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And one thing they do have that I love is that the dialogue is lip synced, but the singing, there are two singers who are actually doing the singing for the songs, which I love. I think that it makes it that much more emotionally impactful.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're providing us with this information because again, I think that it might be overlooked by some adults going by themselves because
yeah,
it's not necessarily one of those movies that it's
yeah,
not character building necessarily that you would gravitate towards. I don't know. I'm just kind of assuming, but I think about the other lands and I can be like, oh yeah, yeah, I understand them. I know them. But Mike, let's talk about food because that's how
yeah,
you started. And I want to make sure that we talk about that because you already said that they had the best quick service there.
yes.
So tell us a little bit about food, portion size, ordering when you're solo, finding a seat, all of that stuff.
So there are two places that I've eaten in Burke specifically. One is the Mead Hall, which is, I would say, if you're solo, you might want to consider the kids menu,
Okay. Love
because
it.
they have massive portions. And what they're doing, a lot of Universal Quick Services now, you walk in, you order on the app, and they bring the food to your table. So that's what they do there. The theming in there is amazing. The food is on my Instagram right now. There's a little reel of food from Epic Universe, and you actually see one of the kids' meals, which comes out in a little Viking longboat, and it is so cool. And the portion size, Ash had it. She's like, this is the perfect portion size because the rest of it, I mean, I think it's called the Hiccups platter or something, and it had like all of this, and I loved all of the food, but it was just for a solo person big. The other option where I think you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck for a solo traveler is Spitfire Grill, which is where they have one of the things that has kind of taken over the internet during the opening, which is the PB&J mac and cheese cone. So it's like the cone has an almost croissant-like sort of feeling to it,
Okay, I'm okay with
and
that.
it's covered in kind of like everything bagel spice,
Okay, I'm okay with
which
that.
is very messy. And then the PB and J. So the PB is pork belly. It's
Oh,
not.
okay. So for those of you who are only listening and not watching, I like to, as I've said on the podcast, you do you bibbidi bobbidi boo, like any, whatever. I try not to like yuck on people's yums, but like my face could not move away from the yuck notion of a PB&J with mac and cheese. I've been thinking
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, so I'm very, very happy. Please continue with much less judgment on my face.
So you have pork belly and jam. So there is jam,
Okay.
which actually worked really really well with the nice little barbecue sauce they had on the pork belly, and then an awesome creamy mac and cheese. And this is near the front of the land. And then there's kind of a seating area which is shaded, which is huge and important. Shade is your friend at Epic Universe, and you do not find a lot of it. Right across the path from the Spitfire Grill. And they have one thing that I noticed is they have a lot of two tops, which I really
Two
like.
tops. So tables with for two seatings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tables for two, which I mean, I always like for example, by comparison, I found that Das Steakhouse, which is in Dark Universe, didn't have nearly the same amount of two top tables. And when I'm solo, I kind of feel greedy taking up like a four top or a six
Yeah.
top because I'm like, or you're like, you walk up to a big table and you're like, "Hi, do you guys mind if I kind of just slide in?" A good thing to know. So the between Mead Hall and Das Steakhouse, they use the same system where you tell them the table number that you're sitting at, and they deliver food. Why I mention this is I actually had someone who was like, "Oh, well, we can't share this table because they won't bring the food in." They will. You can scan that number as many times as you want, so they will
Right,
keep bringing the food out.
because if you were a group of like six friends and you're all
Yeah,
paying for yourself, so that I mean, I guess I can
yeah.
see why people would think that immediately, but then also, yeah, that
Yeah. So, important because they use that in both of the eateries in Ministry of Magic. So the Harry Potter land, they use it in Mead Hall. They use it in Toadstool Cafe, which is the worst food in the park.
Oh,
Um,
somebody said the opposite. That's why
and
it's
they
so
use it
great to
in
be able
Das
to be doing so
Steakhouse.
many of these.
And to be fair, maybe they were having a bad day. It's just
Not the person I interviewed, but the kitchen staff.
the
Or
kitchen staff,
unless you're like, no, the person you interviewed, like they were having a bad day and they just lied to you about everything.
it's entirely possible.
I don't think so. Okay.
So I would say, go for the mac and cheese cone if you're like, I just need a quick thing that I know I can eat myself. What I was thinking of, so there are two things in the Ministry of Magic that have kind of blown me away.
Ooh, I love it.
One is, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, the beef bourguignon. Yes, I have had beef bourguignon in a theme park, and it was really good. So they have it, and I'm not even going to attempt to tell you the name of the eatery in Ministry of Magic because they are all in French.
Excuse
I
me, didn't Roch Voisine help you with getting those French pronunciations?
The pronunciations I could probably do. It's the remembering that
Oh,
that I
okay,
can't
okay,
do
okay.
right
That was
now.
also, if anyone like appreciates these Canada, Wonderland, Roch Voisine references, again, please make sure you share and subscribe because it's great to make them.
I love talking to Canadians.
Yeah.
The other thing, so they're both at the so there's two places to eat in Ministry of Magic, and I'm just going to call them the dark side and the light side, because there is basically a Paris. And the idea of Ministry of Magic, you are walking out into Paris from the Fantastic Beasts movie. Uh, Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the ride in a second, but it goes in a different direction. But there's a sort of Diagon Alley type eatery in the sort of light side, and then there's more of a Nocturne Alley sort of eatery on the dark side, which is something to do with the Black Goblet, I think is what it's called. But it looks like a Parisian cafe. It's actually quite gorgeous. The theming is amazing. So I sat down and I'm like, okay, I definitely want to try the thing I've heard all about. But then I saw the beef bourguignon. I'm like, this is going to go one of two directions,
100%.
and either of them are going to be hilarious. So I was happy that it was the good direction. But if you are by yourself and you want to eat both a meal and the thing you've heard about at Ministry of Magic, you're going to want to come twice because the beef bourguignon and all of the meals that I saw are huge. And then there's the butterbeer crepe. I am not a fan of butterbeer. I don't like frozen butterbeer. I don't like hot butterbeer. I don't like cold butterbeer. The only butterbeer I found mildly appetizing was the butterbeer they bring on tour with the stage show, which is a completely different thing, not like the Universal's concoction. But the butterbeer crepe is the delivery method butterbeer has been waiting
Mike is showing a lot of enthusiasm with his
for.
face and his energy. So again, make sure you subscribe to Patreon so you can watch this interview and to be able to get the visual cues of his review.
And again, you're like, I'm having a crepe at a theme park. There's a lot of ways this can go wrong really quickly, but it's amazing. Probably the best dessert I've had at Epic Universe. But again, if you are going solo, this by itself is a meal. It's huge. It is so big
I love
and
it.
so good.
Now we've just
Yeah,
distracted him from thinking about the
yeah.
food. That's really wonderful. And I really appreciate you saying that there's a lot of two top tables because that to be honest, like it's something I've instinctively thought about, but not really explicitly. And I think that's a really good point because I think with Epic Universe and Universal Studios generally because they know there's going to be more adults rather
Yeah.
than families necessarily, there are some elements that are more like adult friendly, like if you're going
Yeah.
with you and a partner or you and your best friend or you on your own. So that's really good to know. The last question I have for you, although I feel like we could talk forever, is like is there places that feel more like that pick up on that energy that feel more hospitable for solo travels versus places that don't feel that hospitable for solos?
So I would say, as far as the don't feel hospitable for solos,
Yeah.
and it's sad. I hate saying this, but Super Nintendo World.
Mm.
It is extremely compact. It is very, very overwhelming. And there's so much going on, and unfortunately, so many kids running around that to me it does not feel as welcoming. However, I grew up in the 90s, so like I did kind of love all of the IP in there. It's just a situation you might want to wait till the end of the day. You might want to just wait until some of the kiddos have decided to go to sleep, because if you go in there first thing in the morning, you are going to be overwhelmed immediately. Which is why instead you should go to Dark Universe,
Mm.
because Dark Universe is 1,000% designed for the solo traveler, for the solo adult. There are so many cool, you can, Igor is just walking around. So you can interact with Igor. He has a little doctor's bag full of body parts. So he'll walk around and be like, "Do you want a hand?" There's the Invisible Man, another walk around character. They have walk around musicians who play the violin. And then you can meet Frankenstein's monster and Bride of Frankenstein, which are all, I think, really, really cool solo adult things to do. You can also just completely vibe in this land. And it is such a just a place that you can hang out, as is, and for interesting reasons, as is the Ministry of Magic. So Ministry of Magic only has one ride, Battle of the Ministry, which I did wait 3.5 hours for.
Was it worth
Uh,
it?
no, no, sadly, no. Um, it has a show, which again, I wasn't overly impressed by. Not to say the actors were not doing a great job, they absolutely were. I just didn't. It was tied directly to the Fantastic Beasts, which just isn't a franchise I feel any emotional attachment to. So I didn't love the show. There was supposed to be a second ride, and it was canceled. So the land has kind of a whole half. As you walk in through what I am calling the Petite Arc de Triomphe, because it is perfectly the Arc de Triomphe, just smaller. Um, as you walk in, you can go, you sort of go down a main street kind of, and then at the end there is Cirque Arcanus, which is the show in a little cirque tent, and then you can go to your left or your right. If you go to your left, you're going down towards the Battle of the Ministry, which you may already note that there might already be a line all the way down the street. I heard they were actually using part of the queue for Cirque Arcanus to run the extended queue for Battle of the Ministry when it got to 5 hours the other day. But if you go right, you go down to a little sort of dead end corner there where they have Bar Moonshine, which I haven't eaten or drank at, but it looks really cool. Um, and there's kind of just this nice little like slice of Paris, and you can just kind of chill and
I love
just
it.
enjoy life. And I've not been to Paris personally, but I have been to the old city of Quebec, and it's got a very similar vibe. It feels authentic. One thing I noticed as a Canadian, they've coached all of the team members in some very basic French, but they've coached them in Parisian French.
Ah.
So that'll be bonjour and bonjour. I reply slightly differently because I've heard Quebecois Canadian French for most of my life. So I thought that was a really cool detail that they're very accurate in. So yeah, and then I guess the last thing I would say as far as a solo place to hang out would be Celestial Park.
Mm.
Celestial Park only has two attractions. It has Stardust Racers, which is the biggest coaster on property, which is not. Some people say it's the best coaster in Orlando now. I'm not personally a fan. Like I like it, but I mean I have a Velocicoaster tattoo on my leg. So
Okay.
there would be a lot to have to go wrong for me to give up on my what my wife calls my mistress coaster, because I so often end up out of the house visiting her. And you also have the Constellation Carousel, but you also have a huge Starbucks. You have a massive souvenir shop that encompasses all of the lands. And then you have this lovely little chocolate shop that has vegan chocolate, that has truffles, that has fudge, that has a whole selection of cakes. They also, people may have seen this little sort of pirate character. So it's like I think it's like a platypus or a duck, with a star over his eye, and he is sort of the mascot of this specific area, which is right next. I can't think of the name right now, but it's right next to the Atlantic. So there are two attached to Celestial Park, two finer dining restaurants. There's the Atlantic, which is a seafood restaurant, and there is the Blue Dragon, which is an Asian, Pan-Asian restaurant. So again, if you are a solo traveler and you're like, hey, I just want to, disconnect from the theme park feel for a bit, there's those two places. There's also Oaken Tree Tavern, which has barbecue. There's Pizza Moon, which has pizza. And then there's two other bars in the area. So if you're just sort of wanting to vibe, there's a little half band shell that has a kind of jazz show going on most of the day. And then it goes on all day, but towards nighttime when the lights go on, the fountain show towards the back of the park is in Celestial Park, and it's really cool to watch.
Oh, I love that.
It's very, and they've done that because unlike Walt Disney World, which has a significant buffer around its parks for its neighbors, the original Universal Parks and Epic Universe are both basically right in Orlando. So they can't necessarily have the same. I never know if this number is correct, but I heard years ago that Disney spent $250,000 a day on fireworks at Walt Disney World. So
I heard
Universal
50.
is not.
Yeah.
Universal's not. So their answer to the fireworks show is the fountain show, which a lot of folks, and I'm sure folks who go to Disney solo probably spend a lot of time at Epcot, because that kind of is the most adult of the parks. And for folks who are still like me, are mourning the loss of the fountain in what is now World Discovery, I think they call it. I don't know, but the fountain. If you're missing that, Universal was like, hey, you guys walked, we'll run. The fountain is amazing. The show was produced by the same folks who did the I'm trying to think of it. The hotel in Las Vegas with the very
The
famous
Bellagio.
the Bellagio. There we go. Same folks who did the Bellagio show. They actually came and did the Cinesational, which is at Universal Studios Florida. And then as soon as they were done doing Sensational, they transferred over, and they're the ones that did the fountain show at Epic Universe. So that
Well,
is a
that's
great way to end the night.
yeah, and that's a great way to end the episode, but that's a nice little bit of trivia too, right? And also there's an element about the fireworks where you're standing and you're watching and you're waiting, and but there I don't know, I kind of get the sense with fountain shows, especially like thinking about my experiences watching the fountain shows at Bellagio, that there is just a sense of like water is calmer than fire, you know? So what a great what a great kind of overview, Mike. I don't feel like this is our only time that we're going to talk. I hope we'll get a chance to talk again.
Absolutely.
Before we started recording, I said to Mike, "Oh, is that Star Wars stuff behind you?" And then he was about to start explaining all the things that weren't Star Wars. And I was like, "No, no, that's totally fine. It's broad strokes because I've never been to like Star Wars Land. That's not." So I was like, "We should talk about going to Star Wars Land
Yeah.
at Hollywood Studios solo," because I was like, behind me are like Princesses and Orange Bird and Haunted
Yeah.
Mansion. So I thank you so much for this really, really useful overview. I think that everything that you have said has been so useful if people are thinking of going solo. I know you have more to say, so we will get a chance to talk and you'll be able to talk more about that. But you were also talking about it on your own platform. So how can people get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me right now is Instagram. So Instagram and Threads. I do so on there. I am at it's Uncle Mike B. The B being BEE. There's a whole story behind that name. It's actually my fourth name that I've had, but I'm sticking with this one now.
Love it.
Um, so on Instagram and Threads, I am marginally on Twitter. marginally on TikTok, and I do have a YouTube channel, which I have said a bunch of times I'm in the process of relaunching. But I have a perfectionist streak to me that makes editing really, really hard.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
even though you spelled out your Instagram handle, no need for people to write it down with a little pen and paper. All of the links to all of those social media are down below in the description of this episode. And yeah, thank you so much. I am really excited to hear more about your trips to Epic Universe this summer as you go, your upcoming hotel stay. And yeah, I can't wait to talk with you again.
yeah, same, absolutely. And for the folks that are listening, if you want further questions, I do respond to all comments and DMs on Instagram. So
Yeah,
fire
if you
fire it
want to
over
know
my
who
way.
Roch Voisine is, you can direct those questions to Mike. Or if you want to know how the Ghoster Coaster compares to Haunted Mansion, Mike will give you a much bigger, detailed
And
explanation.
nothing compares to Tomb Raider.
Yeah. All right, until then, bye.
Bye bye.
Hey Solos, it's Samantha. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well as all the episodes of Disney Solo Magic, the #1 podcast for solo travel to Disney World. If you loved this solo story as much as I did, you probably will love watching it even more. The Disney Solo Magic Patreon has been reorganized to make it even easier for you to access this type of content. The Patreon has unedited videos of all the solo stories, as well as reflections on each episode, including the solo stories, an opportunity for you to vote on future episodes, and a monthly release schedule, which is always subject to change, but it's always kind of interesting to see what's planned. What's great about the solo story videos, and the reason why I really wanted to do the Patreon, is because we have so much fun having these conversations. And when you're listening to them, you don't totally get all of the looks, the gestures, the outfits, the laughing, the bloopers, the nose blowing, and all of that stuff that just make it like two friends having a great conversation. And we want you to be part of those conversations. So join Patreon now. It is $5 Canadian, which is about $4 American, $1 a week, or just over $1 a week. And that way you get access to these videos and can join the conversation and have even more fun. Plus, there is a free trial. And for those of you who signed up for the free trial in the different organization that I had for Patreon, guess what? You get to sign up for another free trial and get another week. I hope this organization of Patreon works really well for you to be able to see how fun it is to have these solo stories. And I can't wait to have more. I am booking solo stories up until September and October, so you don't want to miss access to how fun it is to have these conversations. And if there is enough of us, maybe we can have a big solo story meetup one day this summer. So please join me on Patreon. Although, if you're unable to join the Patreon right now, you can also support the podcast by subscribing, rating, reviewing, commenting, and sharing the Disney Solo Magic podcast to all of your friends and family across all of the platforms that we are connected with. The links to all of this is below, and I can't wait for another wonderful season of content. Bye!